Oh, we're live. Hi, Amarjot. How are you?
I'm good, Rose. How are you?
Good. So, I just wanted to introduce you. This is Amarjot Donovan. She's a friend of mine. Amarjot and I are both mental health coaches for Kelly Brogan's Vital Mind Reset program that's available online. And I'm going to let Amarjot tell you a little bit about what we do.
What we do as coaches?
Yeah.
Well, a support coach really supports the client or whoever it is through like a contraction in life. We all kind of get into intense periods of growth. We might be aware of it, and it might be something that we're just wanting to change in our life. We're wanting to make a move or change jobs or change directions. We're wanting to maybe address something more internally that's come up, any number of things. And we feel like we need that support to sort of stay focused and on track, and also to go a little bit deeper with it. We can coaches are good at kind of getting at what's underneath the surface. And so we work with people on setting goals, identifying their core values, what's really important to them. Because once you kind of anchor yourself in what's really true for you, it becomes really clear what's not true and sort of what needs to fall away. And so we kind of support people through those intense periods. Of growth and change and transformation, and then we just set them free. We push them out of the nest and let them go off and just live their life. And sometimes, there's we do work with people who are tapering, which is
Tapering off of psychiatric drugs.
tapering off of psychic, right? So if you tune into this to Rose's videos, probably a lot about her journey. And so we do work specifically with people who are navigating that as well.
That is correct. And it's very rewarding, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Really, because I have a coach, someone that I talk to, and it's invaluable. I don't I When I think of the difference between therapy and coaching, I just don't think I'm not sure I would ever go see a therapist again, I guess. And I kind of have this was like 10, 15 years ago that I saw a therapist. And I know there's been leaps and bounds of kind of shifts in that world and what's sort of brought to the table as far as therapy is concerned. I would probably go for something more somatic, maybe even like dance therapy or something like that. But something that really gets you into the body, because for me, therapy was so mental, it was so intellectual. It was just like rearranging like just rearranging furniture, but nothing was really changing inside of me. And so it was helpful for a little bit, but there was always a point where I was just like, I feel like I'm just complaining. Whereas with coaching, every session is a deep dive. And when you feel like you've kind of mined for whatever you can, you just you just wrap it up. I don't know how to put it. Like, there's no pressure to continue the relationship for months and months and months or years. You just kind of you get what you need out of it, and then you can just hit pause.
I think here's what came to me while you were talking and sort of defining the difference between coaching and traditional therapy. One of the things that for myself is I have learned through coaching, and I didn't learn this through psychoanalysis, was
Mhm.
to be the sole owner of my problem, take total responsibility. So in coaching, I think it's more like the coach is not trying to figure you out.
Mm-mm.
The coach is kind of like sort of directing you, guiding you, supporting you through a process where you do all the self-discovering.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And that
Absolutely.
that is super super important. It's so empowering because you're like what you realize is you don't really need a therapist or a coach. you can see your life without that. And while I was in therapy and seeing a psychiatrist, I could not see my life without a psychiatrist or therapist.
Yeah,
Like
sure.
they were a fixture in my life, and a dependence really. And
Yeah.
what happened was, I had no freedom. I did not have true freedom because I was always sort of chained to like this mental
There's just
health
there's like an
professional.
external source of um like that sense of certainty, that
Yeah.
sense of safety, because it didn't come from within, right?
No, absolutely
Like
not.
in
And the
control.
the therapists and the doctors didn't even teach me how to have that myself. So
Yeah.
they would help me sort of analyze and stuff like that, but I would never really get over the problem.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It was like a circle,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I was, and I'm not going to say it's their fault. I think it's just the way that they're trained. So, and I notice also, like, as I've healed, like for real healed, that a lot of it had to do with the somatic stuff. Like it was in the body. It wasn't just this, in my head. It was
Yeah.
like this whole body um therapy. I needed whole body therapy. So that
Yeah.
meant movement, meditation, exercise, like you were saying that you did a chant, it could be sound
Mhm.
healing, nature, like these things that are very visceral that, you can feel with your senses.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. Sensory therapy.
totally.
All
That's,
whole senses. Yeah.
yeah.
Sensory.
And it's like it was also for me coming from a place of in the head.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was just wow. I mean, when I started to feel these the sensory connection with,
Yeah.
everything, like, oh wow, look how I respond to that, it was just mind blowing. I mean, you
Is
can.
that your biggest touchstone? Is nature, or what would you say is your biggest, like, what helps you land, or whatever you want to say?
I would say there's a few things. So it's definitely like having the foundation of like what I'm eating, like putting in my body.
Yeah,
So
sure.
those things I noticed really affect me. So if I'm eating like if I'm having too, sugar, I haven't had sugar for a few months, but when I do have it, or caffeine and things like that, or even like junky foods and stuff, it totally affects the my mood and my foundation. So as long as and I've actually kept that pretty strict, and in a in solid ground. I have a really solid platform of diet, and as far as that goes. But the next thing on top of that would have been the movement and the nature. So
Mhm.
movement through nature, which means, I mean, it doesn't, I don't, you don't have to go to a forest, or, you can do that. Like nature, I'm breathing in nature right now.
Yeah.
Like air is nature, and, water is nature. And just sort of acknowledging that and realizing that I'm a part of that. And
Hmm.
I think using it as a metaphor. So, like, when you put a plant into rotten soil, or pour a bunch of, let's say, chemicals on it, it's going to die.
Yeah.
And so I related to it in that way. Like I'm like this plant. So it was like when I put myself in these situations and pour a bunch of crap on me, I'm gonna die. And
Yeah. Yeah.
so I was kind of like that little plant that I was nurturing. So anything that plant needed, I needed. I don't know where I'm going with this, but that it was definitely that connection, realizing that I am of this earth, that I'm not just this machine moving through a city, another machine. I'm
Hmm.
I'm a important part of this ecosystem.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, I love that analogy because it's so accessible and it's so meaningful. It's like
Yeah,
um, plants when they're super isolated and they don't get any attention, they don't thrive. We
right.
as humans are so isolated, and we think that it's come to be sort of normal in our culture, and like, all the different ways that we don't really think about how we uh, sort of choke off our nourishment, in all these different ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really have to kind of push yourself to remember and recognize that you're a living thing
Yep, you
that
do. I mean, you really do. You have
needs
to.
right? And love and community and all that.
Absolutely. So also you are a Kundalini teacher. So we got off
Yeah.
while I was introducing. And Kundalini is a type of yoga that I have used and do
Yeah.
implement into my life. And I know that a lot of people use it. And Kelly Brogan, in fact, also uh promotes it or suggests that her clients or people in the VMR program at least do 3 minutes a day of Kundalini meditation, which
Hmm.
is, I think Kundalini is a really good, it's I don't think meditation is the right word for it, because it is that sort of somatic experience. So you get like the because they're singing, so you get the audio and the vibration through your body when you sing. And I mean, singing has there is so much evidence on how singing actually heals. Like I think I read it. I read a study a long time ago where singing actually ups the T cell count in people with AIDS.
Hmm.
So
Chanting, yeah. Oh
yeah,
yeah.
chanting. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it starts there. It's like, okay, the simple little thing of singing, or there's the movement involved, because Kundalini is not about sitting still and closing your eyes.
No.
So,
Yeah. It can get intense.
so
And
yeah,
you're laughing
maybe you
because
can
the brain
explain it a
is moving.
little.
Yeah, so it is it's a technology. It's a science. And it's designed to promote wellness within the whole body. So at a deep like nervous system level, endocrine level, and it gets there by using all of these different modalities of the practice of yoga. We often think of yoga as moving through these postures, the physical body stretches, and the downward dog, and all that stuff. And that is yoga, of course. But it's also chanting. It's also meditating. It's also eye focus. It's also mudra. And there's ways that you can use the body by making angles and triangles and directly impact the meridians that flow through the body and engage certain systems, like re-engage certain systems. So really and truly facilitates very, very deep, real healing. And there's several people in the Kundalini community who are doing testing on it and studies on it that it's impressive. It's quite impressive. So yeah, um, it's a natural fit for someone who is looking for that deep healing. Um, like most of us are, right? We're looking because it's the fast track. That's the other thing. Kundalini yoga is the fast track for people who are wanting to heal, who are wanting to elevate, raise their consciousness. And it's accessible. It was designed and created for householders, just everyday people who just need to feel good to get through their day. We're not trying to transcend anything. We're wanting to meet life as it comes with a sense of focus, energy, and grace. And to be that, we have to have a strong and stable nervous system. We have to have a balanced glandular system. Those are like baseline. And we have to have some kind of connection to the mind. Um, and Kundalini will get you there in 3 minutes, or in a full class is where a lot of the magic happens, because you're in community and you are able to take in the collective vibration of the group and do more than you could have done on your own. It's really a beautiful thing, which you probably have experienced in your classes.
Yeah, not only, I mean, I also do it at home. So, on my own. So
Yeah,
it's I started doing it at home on my own. Then of course, I started going to classes. I haven't gone in a while because sometimes the classes they're long. They're, an hour and a half.
yeah.
And sometimes they're just too stimulating. And I was going through a period where I needed very calming, like,
Mhm.
um, just less stimulation.
Yeah.
So I was doing like the chanting at home and other, that don't require the movement because I mean, Kundalini is activating.
It can
So
be activating.
yeah, it is. So it can really, like, if you're, I don't think this is the case for everybody, but I was having some, hormonal stuff, and it was kind of making my hormones get a little more excited, I think.
Yeah, in the evening it can be activating.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I always had a hard time falling asleep. I felt good. I felt energized. I was like, but I needed this at about 7 a.m., not at 10 p.m. So yeah, yeah, but it's good. It's really good. And then there's gong and lots of sound healing. For me, my like go-to thing to kind of reset my stress response is the chanting because it opens up the heart.
Mhm.
It sends the body a total signal of safety, and it starts to release those like feel good hormones throughout the body, and you literally just feel yourself start to vibrate. No different than like anytime you sing, right?
Right.
Sing in the car or sing in church or whatever, you're just vibrating and the mind kind of shuts off and you just get in a flow. It's like you're floating on a sound current. It's called the sound current, the nod. And that can just get you through, like get you out of the mind and into the body. So that's usually my access point to feeling good.
Yeah, that's a good start. So there's a lot of people that I actually coach that they have problems with, like, they're like Kundalini, this sounds stupid or whatever.
Hmm.
I tell them, I'm like, okay, instead of doing that, can you do this? And I say, find a recording of a song that you like to sing. Put the headphones on and just sit there with the headphones on and sing the song. and
Hmm. Hmm.
and usually they're like, wow, I love doing that. That makes me feel so good. Most, I mean, my sisters, they wear the headphones around the house while they're cleaning
Uh-huh.
because and sing, you know what I mean? And I mean, I know a lot of people that do that
Oh yeah.
because it's like you can change um your perception of what you're doing, so cleaning isn't such a chore, so.
Yeah.
And even if you're sitting there feeling really crappy and you put on a headset and sing a beautiful song that you like, your mood really changes. So it's no
Oh,
different, I think, because the Kundalini songs are these sort of repetitive chants of songs we don't know, that we're not familiar with, like, Sata Nama. What kind of song is that? This is dumb, but it's the same thing as singing any other song. And there's something about the repetitive of it that actually is meditative in itself.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, and yes, the repetition, it sort of hypnotizes you, and again helps get you out of the mind. But the Kundalini yoga chants, they are for a specific
I know.
purpose, right? Right. They evoke something within the person. Um, and they have been chanted. It's kind of like there's a lot of, and it doesn't have to be the Kundalini chants, but there's a lot of just beautiful sentiments like thank you. That's a mantra. Happy am I, healthy am I, holy am I. That's a mantra. Anything that feels like a blessing or a prayer, it has like a different sort of vibration to it. So you can, if you need something that's in English that you can really hang on to. You can bless yourself with just about anything. The point is to open your heart and really mean what you're saying. Like if you can get to that point where you can look at yourself in the mirror and really bless yourself, like honestly and sincerely, you're going to start to see some big shifts and changes in your life.
I totally 100% agree. So I remember the first, and just to get, how long have you been doing Kundalini?
Um, let's see, 8 years, almost exactly 8 years.
And were you a, I mean, did you just automatically get into teaching, or was it like a long time as a student or a novice and then you got into teaching?
Yeah, so interesting. I feel like everyone has kind of a fun story of what led them to Kundalini, like certain forces came into their life and all of a sudden, boop, they were in this class, and that's kind of how it worked out with me. At the end of 2011, I had a reading. I gifted myself with a reading, a soul reading. And this guy told me all kinds of stuff. Like he read my aura, and this was all over the phone. He read my aura and he said a bunch of stuff about me that has since come to be true. But he kept saying that I needed to raise my Kundalini. I needed to raise my Kundalini. You should go to Kundalini classes 3 or 4 times a week. I didn't know what he was talking about, but he said yoga, and I was doing yoga at that time. So I thought, oh, I have that covered. It was a life-changing phone call. I got off of that call and it was like my whole body was vibrating. We just talked for a half hour and it was like whew, a total alignment from toes to crown. And it was a couple months later. I've been going to a studio on a certain night of the week. That was my night. My schedule changed, and so I had to go on a different night of the week. That was the only night I could get to yoga, and it just happened to be this like fusion class that was qigong, kundalini, and like some sort of a flow class. And so I got my first taste of a Kundalini mantra. And I remember we did this one, Satnam, 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 Waheguru. And we did it for 11 minutes. And I'd never done anything like that for 11 minutes. I'd never chanted like that. And I was like, this is amazing. So I spoke to my friend and I was like, gosh, this class is like changing my life. And she told me that there was a Kundalini studio like down the road from where I lived. So I got myself there, and for my first class, I was like, okay, that's it. Like my life is going to change, and this is going to be my like mode of transportation is this yoga. And I knew I would teach it immediately. I knew I would teach it. But it was a couple of years. I did my teacher training 2014 into 2015. So it was a couple of years before it was the right time. So I've been teaching since then. Yeah, and it's been like like along with food and community and all of the things that you mentioned, that's like your foundation. This practice is it for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. So there's times where I would say it's important for me, the meditation aspect, but
Mhm.
it's not when you ask what's the most important thing, it was the foundation of diet and then uh nature connection with like my surroundings. So
Yeah.
but I also think that you can get that through doing kundalini because it's such a physical physical practice. It's not like
Yeah.
it's not when you ask people to when I talk to people about meditation, most of them are imagining like the Dalai Lama sitting on his little in his what is it called, the shrine, in front
Yeah.
of his little shrine, but it's not like that at all. So it's Kundalini classes are pretty fun.
They are really fun. And
Yeah.
like you were saying, 3 minutes
Yeah, 3 minutes.
change your physiology, it can change your mood, so there's lots of access points to the practice if you're not ready to dive in and wear a turban and
Right.
wear white.
Yeah, which I wasn't ready to do. It's I'm just not ready to do that. So even though I'd like to do the teacher training, um, uh, you know, it's not. important for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
the great thing about Kundalini too is you don't have to like throw yourself into it. You can just do 3 minutes a day, like we were saying. And one little aspect, one meditation, or that I think that's why Kelly Brogan, that's who introduced me to it, was Kelly Brogan. I had never heard of it. I don't think I've ever heard of it prior to uh running across her blog and her writing about it. But there was I was like, in the beginning I just did a couple minutes, and it was very helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I was
Yeah.
like, wow, why doesn't everybody do this?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It depends on how deep you want to go.
Yeah.
If you're ready to change, if you're ready for that deep transformation, you can go for it. Do it. I know lots of people who went to class every single day and, you know, months later they were just like a completely different person because it delivers you to your destiny. And
Right.
I know that sounds sort of trite and corny, but it does. The chanting, the movements, the yoga, it clears away what's not you or what feels like not you so that your true your true identity, your Satnam, can emerge and you live from that place instead of a place of programming or, all the stuff that gets put on us as we're growing up. And that can be that can be a beautiful and a scary process once that awakening, happens. And some people just need to take it slow, and do the 3 minutes and that's okay too.
There's somebody saying hi to us on the thing. I said hi back. I think it's my cousin, Chrissy. Hi, Chrissy.
Hi, Chrissy.
I'm pretty sure. Anyway, so that's interesting that you mentioned the awakening, because last year, around this time, around March, or
Mm-hmm.
I started to have the first spiritual experience I ever had. So how I've always like thought about this because I went through AA. AA. Are you familiar with AA? So in AA, one of the biggest things is they talk about this spiritual experience that you're going to have, right? And I never had it. So I was always like, what are they talking about? And I meditated, I tried all this stuff, all these sort of you know vehicles to get to that spirit. I'm like, what are these people talking about? But I didn't realize that I was so disconnected. I needed to work on a lot of other things before I got there. But last year, I I guess I was ready for it, and I actually started to experience like that same thing what I was experiencing way back then when I was in AA, but this time I had done all the work and I knew how to access it. And
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I can do this now. Like it's my turn now to have this experience. And I've been waiting, no lie, I was waiting 30 years to have a spiritual experience. And I don't mean like, I suddenly saw God or anything. That's when I had that breakthrough of, the knowledge of my deep connection to this, to everything, to people, to the planet, to, every little thing. And I had been working really hard on my, personal development and spiritual life and my psyche and all that stuff. And Kundalini, so I threw myself into these Kundalini classes around this time. And it provided this, like, because I was like not in the greatest. I mean, when you're going through a sort of spiritual crisis, you're like not really stable. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
you're kind of all over the place, and you're sounding like, I mean, things seem really irrational and weird. And I mean, it was a very interesting experience. And the Kundalini every day, it grounded me. It was
Yeah.
like, this is where you need to be, doing these, here with these people, this community, and meditating with them, practicing this, whatever, just do it. Something in me was like, just keep going back, keep going back. And it was really, really powerful in helping me uh, navigate that spiritual what I mean, experience, I guess you want to call it, whatever it is. But it was really intense. But not only did it ground me, but it also gave me, there was something in me going, like, the people in the community were like, it's okay, what you're going through is okay. Like, they were a support, basically telling me to just keep hanging on and keep coming here and doing, this is important work you're doing. That's what they kept telling me. This is important work, and that's what they were telling each other. And that was the whole message. Like, we're on this, what we're doing on this planet is important, and I didn't know that before. I had no idea. So it was really, really, a huge, huge support for me, and very powerful in my, movement forward.
Yeah. When we have, I feel like when we have an awakening, like you're talking about, it can sort of take you up into like, it's almost like you go into like another dimension, or just
Yeah.
you start to see the world, the matrix dissolves or whatever. And it can be very, you can feel a little untethered.
Yeah.
And what the Kundalini practice is designed to do is to anchor you
Right.
in your physical body, because you're not trying to like get out. This is your vessel. This is your temple for this lifetime. This is your spiritual vehicle. And so, Yogi Bhajan, who brought the technology over from India back in the late 60s, he landed in the San Francisco area, like at the height of drug use and just everything going on. And people who were they were really trying to elevate. They were trying to access their spirituality, their higher self, and they were doing it through drugs. And what he showed them, and what he wants, everybody to know, is that you can get there, but you don't have to do it that way. You need to ground into your body, and that's why there's so much navel center work. There's so much core work, because that is what helps to anchor you in the body, so that then that Kundalini energy can elevate through the central channel of the spine and open up the heart and open up the throat and the third eye or intuition in the crown, and we can just feel this full alignment. But we can't just jump straight up in the clouds and just float there, because those people, right? It's like, okay, you do have to pay your taxes, and there are some earthly things you have to take care of, and that it gives you that ability to kind of keep your feet on the ground, but still be reaching up for the stars, because we're both.
Yep.
We're both.
So I want to give a shout out to Shoshi. Hi, Shoshi.
Hi, Shoshi.
You know Shoshi, right?
I do.
Yeah. She's my inspiration.
She's amazing. Oh my gosh. I love everything Shoshi shares.
We could do the rest of the live about Shoshi now.
No. Maybe you should interview her.
I should, actually.
Yeah.
When she's ready, I will. Definitely. Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. She's amazing.
Sure. So that was a lot of stuff. So what we were talking about. So yeah, I mean, I guess our Amarjot and I are both, mental health coaches, but we also are a lot of other things. So, right?
Exactly. And we also like to go to the spa.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So I got to give a shout out to King Sauna. That place was awesome. And I got to tell you, so that was the first time, like I told you, like I was so afraid to be naked. And so when you're like, oh, I looked at their website, and they're like, you're given these outfits, but you need to be naked. And I was like, no, I mean, I have such anxiety about being naked. So, that was like a big deal for me to do that. And I have like body issues, like, some family members of mine, they had, sexuality issues growing up. And so I mean, I wear clothes like to bed, like I have clothes on all the time. The only time I was telling you that I'm naked is when I'm getting in the shower and when, I'm making love. And and the and like sometimes I keep my socks on.
That's so sexy. But yeah, how did it feel? I mean, you had mentioned it to me, but I never sensed that you.
It was really good. I was like,
Nice.
this is great. I was like, what am I so afraid of?
So just to back up for people, so King Sauna, it's this place in New Jersey.
Right.
And we met up there last week, and we had a day of soaking and all these different tubs of steam rooms and different heated rooms, like sort of spa treatments. It's an amazing, amazing place, and you go there and you spend the day there. But part of it is like a bathhouse, so you're naked. There's showers, there's different pools to soak in, different temperature water. And it's luxurious. It feels so good, but you're just around like, dozens of other women who are naked, all ages, all shapes, sizes. And we're just discussing it's liberating. I find it's beautiful. I think it's like it's a missing piece from our culture, is these sort of like women gathering together, and because it's very nurturing. It was so, oh my God, I felt like my soul was cleansed there, just like deep, deep in,
Yeah.
besides the like 20 layers of skin that we sloughed off.
I know, our skin was peeling off. It was so gross.
Serious. Yeah,
The
we need.
ladies there, it was really cool because there was like women like, scrubbing each other's backs and like, and then when I went into the sauna area, they were giving each other massages, and it was like, and you can be in the sauna area with men because that's where you're dressed. And
Yeah,
like, there was like couples, and I mean, they weren't getting like frisky or anything, but they were like just being like just really caring, like publicly sort of caring toward each other. It was
yeah,
really,
yeah.
yeah, it was all appropriate. It was very appropriate. But yeah, I mean, I was like, wow. I mean, I don't understand. I have four sisters. We've never cleaned each other's back.
Mm, I
Yeah.
cleaned Rose's back.
Yeah.
I scrubbed her up.
Yeah, she scrubbed my back. It was really awesome. Thank you. That you're the first person I think I've ever let do that. I did let my friend Wendy once give me a spray tan,
Oh,
like back, and that
back in
was
the day.
hard for me.
A
I
little
remember
orange
that being
glow.
what?
A little orange glow.
Yeah, it was. It was. I didn't like. They liked it, but I didn't.
Hmm.
Just not. It's just not a thing. Anything doesn't look like it. But do you want to talk about anything else, Amarjot?
I feel like I start to talk with you and get to see your pretty face.
You say that again?
I said it's a great way to start the day, talking to you and getting to see your face.
Thank you.
I don't think I have anything. Yeah, if there's no questions, I think I think we're good.
You didn't want to mention anything else that you're going through or any sort of issues? It was fun.
Yeah, this has been fun. This has
Right?
been
It's
really fun.
really fun. I mean, everyone is really afraid to do it because it's like, what? We're going to do a live? We're just going to have an interview live? And I'm like, yeah. And then they're like, I'll call you back. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, let me put that on my calendar sometime next year. I'm like, come on, it's really easy and fun.
Well, I'm here to say this was delightful. It was very stress-free. It was very easy.
Awesome.
Not a big deal. Very nice.
All right. Thanks for
Yeah.
thanks for coming on.
You're so welcome. Thank you for having me. We'll have to have another spa date soon.
Yeah, for sure. So King, I'll do an ad. I should be. We should. I should get King Sauna to be my sponsor.
Oh my God. Yes. Get us free passes to that place.
Right? Like maybe let him advertise on my YouTube channel, and then I'll get it. We'll get a couple free passes, maybe. Maybe I should call him and ask him.
Do it. Do it.
All right, I
Yeah.
will. All right, it was great talking to you, Amarjot. Everybody, have a great day, and thanks for tuning in. Love you all.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.